Hi everyone, so today we are gonna be building a Spring Boot application with JSP's Bootstrap and encryption as its main functionality. So what our application will be doing is that it will receive a string input, then return the SHA-256 version of that string input. So that's basically what we will be covering with this Spring Boot application. So let's get to it. So let's go and test whether our input will work. So let's go back to our text controller. So in our text controller, we need to provide a method that will receive our text to encrypt. So we need to say public model and view and name it at submit text. So this one will have an endpoint of post mapping, and remember what we defined here in our index.jsp. So we said the action will be submit text. So we also need to say here our endpoint will be submit text. So it will have a parameter. So we define the parameter of input types text input here. So we'll say add request param, then say text input, then say string text input. So again we need to define our model and view, but before defining our model and view, let's just say public void and see if whether our endpoint works. System.out.print. Let's print our text input. So let's test whether our cryptography will work. So let's say yes, it should display yes on the console. So our controller should display, let's say get SHA. So as you can see, the text works. The submitting of text works. So we are able to submit our text. So let's go back to our controller and let's remove this and say model and view. Model is equal to new model and view. So we need to set the view. So we need to redirect back to our view here. So we need to call our endpoint again after submitting text. So let's see how we will be doing that. So let's say model.set view name and say redirect. So the reason why we redirect is because if we directly say index to call our index, let's just return our model and see what will happen. Let's say model and view. Let's return the model and view. Let's try to call our index again and view. So let's output again system.out.print ln. Let's print out yes again and see what will happen if we try to return this again. So we need, after our endpoint is called, we need to, after submitting, return back and call the index.jsp file. So let's see what will happen to our application. Let's say John, let's encrypt John and say get SHA-256. So as you can see, we are returning back to our index page, but here our endpoint is still there. So we need to redirect back so that the user doesn't see that we have redirected our page, so that this submit text is removed. So as you can see, yes, we have redirected back, but we need to just remove it. So let's say here, let's remove this and say redirect. We'll say we need to redirect back to our endpoint. So let's see what will happen after we redirect back. So here you can see the issues because we are submitting a form that has been resubmitted. So let's say John again, and let's analyze our output there. Say get SHA. So now you see the submit text is no longer shown, and we have submitted our text for encryption. So let's continue and say now we are gonna define our service. Let's create a new package and call it service package. As you can see, we have just created the service package. Let's create a new class within the service package and call it text. Call it text service. So after calling it text service, we can annotate with add component, but we are just gonna annotate it with add service. So after annotating it with add service, we need to define the method that will perform the encryption. So public string, and define the method as encrypt text, and say string to receive text. So let's bring back the string as SHA, and it's equal to hashing dot hashing hashing dot SHA-256. Let's save everything. Hashing 256 dot, let's stop our server here, save everything. There seems to be a problem. Let's close this and don't save. Let's open up the text service class. Let's see what's going on. Let's define the method again. Public string encrypt text will receive string as text, and string SHA is equals to hashing dot SHA-256 then dot let's say dot hash string, then we'll provide the text that we received and provide a standard char set .utf underscore 8 dot toString. Then let's return SHA back. So this will perform our encryption. So to test whether our encryption works, let's say after we have submitted our form here, let's auto wire our service private text service text service, so that we'll be able to use within our controller. Let's auto wire it within our controller. So now after receiving the text input, let's say text service dot encrypt text. So what we will be receiving is text input. So in our controller, we will call the text service and it will return the encrypted name or whatever string as a SHA-256. So let's test our application. Let's start it and test our application. The application is starting. Okay, a bin of type that could not be found. So Spring is telling us that it cannot find a bin of type text service. So let's check. Okay, we did not annotate. Let's annotate it with add service here. So after annotating with add service, let's start our application again. Tomcat has started. Let's test. So let's provide John again. So on the console, we need to see the SHA-256 of John. So as you can see, here is the SHA-256 of John console on the output. So let's go back to our controller. Then in our controller, we need to be able to redirect the encrypted string back to this endpoint here that will also call the index page. So to do that, we are going to use an attribute called redirect attributes. So we have redirect attributes, call it redirect attributes. So redirect attributes will be able to house our encrypted text, then take it back to this endpoint we defined to call our index. So let's remove this and say let's just say string encrypted text is equals to text service that encrypt text input. Then say redirect attributes dot add flash attributes. So in adding flash attribute, you're gonna say text output, then give it a value of encrypted text. So we are gonna redirect to this endpoint with the text output and the encrypted text. So for this endpoint to be able to retrieve this text output, we need to say model and model sent. So we need to define a model sent here. So the model sent will be the one that will receive this attribute here. So let's just say model, then set view name, we are redirecting, then model, we need to retrieve the model that has been sent from here. So to be able to retrieve the output, they're gonna say string, then say output, which is equal to model sent dot as map. You're gonna retrieve the map, then get the specific key object, which will be this key here. So we are gonna retrieve the text output. So because it returns as an object, we need to cast it to a string. So voila, we are gonna redirect our SHA-256 from our service using flash attribute to this endpoint and display the SHA-256 in our endpoint. So to be able to get our endpoint back into our index.jsp page, we need to insert it into our model and view object. So we're gonna say model and model dot add object, say attribute name is equals to text output, then give the value as output. So this will return the output back to our JSP page so that we'll be able to display it on the front end. So let's test our application. So let's test. So let's say John again, say get SHA. So the text must be displayed here. So the reason why the text did not display is because of we did not provide the variable to display our text. So remember, when we redirect and call our endpoint again, we need to extract this object here in our index.jsp page. So our object will be text output. So we need to say $, curly braces, text output. So after saying text output, we are gonna be able to retrieve our SHA-256. So let's refresh our server and say John again, say get SHA. Voila, like magic, we are able to get the SHA-256 for John. So let's just align this from the top and say provide an inline style which is equal to margin top and say 80 pixels. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Provide text to encrypt, get SHA-256. So our application is basically done. So we are able to submit text. Then after submitting the text, we go through to our service, then encrypt our text, then redirect back the encrypted text to our endpoint here. Then in our endpoint, we are able to retrieve this model, then retrieve that input, the SHA-256 version of our text, then put this 256 version into our object here, then redirect it back to our view. Then in our view, we are able to display our SHA-256 here in our text area. So that's basically how to build a Spring Boot application with SHA-256, JSPs, and Bootstrap. Thank you.